this region has been thirsty and crying out for a revelation of God. For it was in the northern parts of California that I brought forth a movement, the Jesus movement. And God says, now, I choose you south. I wish to reveal myself in a way that I have never done before, says the Lord. New force, a new, innovative, creative church that will rush through the cities. They will take the marketplace by storm. Watch and see. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord.
Something happened in this garden that triggered a word. What happened in the 60s and the 70s in California with this Jesus movement, I've already prophesied this, but he said this is the time for that major revolution. Now is the time.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Codebreakers Analysis. I'm Donné Clement Petruska, the eldest child of Kim and Jane Clement. And I am joined today by my dear friend, Christy Desfontaine. Many of you have been asking how Christy is doing. She's right there in LA, in the middle of the fires. It's been very difficult, hasn't it, Christy? Tell us how things are going.
Yeah, it has been tough, and I know we're going to show some people some of the devastation and just reminding everybody that it's like normal people, it's the common person who's lost the most here. But even, for me, like I've got some friends that have lost everything, and I so appreciate those of you that did reach out and wanted to know if I was okay. As you know, I think some of you might know I ended up having to evacuate over the weekend. A very sweet friend of mine offered to pay for a hotel for us to go to Long Beach to get out of the danger zone. So we went and stayed in a hotel down there just for the weekend and then came back on Sunday night. But I ended up at the doctor yesterday. My lungs are not doing very well. I was struggling to breathe. And, I went in and he listened and he said, your lungs aren't doing very good. So I was stuck in the offices for quite a couple hours and on breathing treatments, and I got a steroid shot and all this stuff. And they just said it's from the smoke. He said it's from the pollutants. And the thing is, that's the reality of what people are dealing with. We're not just talking about Hollywood stars. We're talking about people, average people like me with our children that we have to send to school. Me having to tell her, you have to wear this mask because I'm stressed about what's going to happen to her lungs in however many years, if not immediately now. And that's just the reality of it. Like, I know that California, a lot of people have a lot to say, and I understand that there is a lot that's wrong here, but I know that the news clip we're about to go into will give a little bit more of just a picture of that. But just for us as the body of Christ to have compassion, I think is the most important thing right now. And I know, like, I'm obviously feeling it, thank God I'm sitting in my home. I mean, my house is a wreck. There's bags everywhere and stuff everywhere. And, trying to run around and decide what would I save in a fire isn't fun when there's alerts going off and saying you're in a danger zone. And now obviously I'm feeling the physical impact of it as well. Struggling through that. It's not fun feeling like you can't really breathe. But I'm just one tiny component of a much bigger series of components. And I know how this has impacted me in my life and stressing about my child. And I'm not one of the people who lost everything. And I just think it's a good reminder for us. And obviously we're also going to get to prophecy that Kim gave. So don't go away, stay with us. But it's just for us to be reminded of the fact that as the body of Christ right now, what we need to do is show compassion. And that's the main thing that I'd wanted to say about all of this as somebody who is going through it right now here in the state.
Absolutely, yes. Because, we moved to Nashville, but we lived in California. I did for 13 years. Right there outside of LA. I lived in a few places that are on fire right now. And so those are neighborhoods that I know and families that I know, my own family. We've got, I've got my aunt and uncle are there, cousins. So that is so true, Christy, is that, we see the celebrities on on the news and stuff talking, but people need to remember that it's not just celebrities that live in that area. There are millions and millions of people who are already struggling in a difficult economy to live in. It's so expensive there. And so this is just unthinkable what has happened. And I've been through those fires as well. If you remember, I think it was 2018, I think was
2018.
Yeah. And that's where my mom's house almost burned down, and me and Trey
with the
Smith.
Animals. So we were trying to evacuate all the animals.
And me and Trey Smith were driving down the road on the wrong side of the road. And he was, I mean, it was really bad then, but this is exponentially worse. So we actually have a clip to play, you guys, of Altadena and the fires there, just to sort of get perspective.
And again, just for context, a really good friend of mine has been living in Altadena, and she went overseas and flew back in on the 10th and still doesn't know if her house is standing or not. And they won't let them go in to see. So we're just all waiting to see, and everything she owned was there. All she had was a suitcase of clothes that she took to go home. She's from Switzerland, and she went home for the holidays for Christmas, and this all broke out on the 8th, and she lives against the mountain where the Eaton fire started. So we're literally just waiting to see if she even still has a house. So just for people to be aware, when we say these areas, I know if you don't live here, you know, Altadena might just sound like a weird place, but there's people that I know that I'm friends with that live there, and some of them have lost everything, and some of them we're waiting to see. So just again, for that little bit of compassion as we go in and watch these clips, you know, everybody, all of these people are somebody, someone, everybody here.
Absolutely true. It is just a nightmare. Well, let's have a look at that news clip and we'll come back.
Yes, we're here on Fair Oaks in Altadena, and this is a friend of mine and her family. And Daisy is coming here for the first time. Her kids were not really grasping the concept of losing their house, and they insisted, your older son insisted that he wanted to see all of this, right?
He wanted to see his home. He wanted to come back and check his home. He was, you know, we were watching the fire from our window, so he wanted to also see his school and make sure that, you know, everything was there, but he doesn't understand that we lost our home. He was upset. He was crying, but now it's like...
And now what do you think is, as you watch them look at this devastation?
It gets me comfort to see they're innocent, how they just, like, you know, don't understand the concept of pain, of losing things. Like, I thought they were going to take this a little bit harder and difficult, but they, you know, to me, it's sad to see everything that we work for, everything that we built here, to just be gone in hours. You know.
Daddy, I see our fruit.
Just heartbreaking.
You can feel the agony. You can feel the grief there, and that story is the majority of stories out here. That's the majority of them.
That's what I've been hearing as well. And it's just unthinkable, you know, everything you work for. And, you know, we understand about stuff, but, you know, when it's your home and things that you've worked for, maybe many years you've worked to pay off that home, now it's gone. And there's issues with insurance, and there's issues with regulation, and there's all sorts of issues that it really is quite a shock. And so I cannot imagine being one of those families who have lost everything. And so
it's horrifying. You know, Donné, something else that really has touched me is seeing the community come together and people that don't have a lot giving and sharing what they do have. Right. And so I just want to encourage everybody, you know, we've got links up that you can follow if you'd like to donate to the wildfire victims out here. We want to, you know, be able to go and give things to the people that need them the most, who've lost everything out here, and be able to make donations. And also something to realize, you know, even for me, I'm further out from where some of those fires were, but I'm having to live off of bottled water right now because it's too scary to consider drinking it, because you don't know what the contaminants could be. And for the people that are closer, you know, you're talking about entire zip codes that have been wiped out. there's no power, there's no water, there's nothing. And I do think that now is the time for us to step up. So again, if you're able to, I would really encourage you to donate. We want to make sure that we can go in and be the hands and feet of Jesus here on the ground as well. And we would love to be able to do something like that with House of Destiny and know that we're going there and being of assistance. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I know we're about to go into a prophecy, Donné, but just to give everybody the opportunity in a hard time to be able to give and see what we're able to do to help.
Yes, and that's definitely so important to us here at the House of Destiny and to my father and mother. We've always been able to bring all of you together with us and help all over the world. And right now, it's right in our very own backyard. This is where God sent my dad to end his life there. And that's actually in one of the prophecies. I don't know if it's actually going to be part of what we play for you today. But he actually saw that, and God sent him there with a word and with a promise for California. And so that's very significant in this time, that as we look at the devastation, which let me tell you, it looked, even now, if you go live on the news and you see the fires, it looks like Armageddon. It looks like the end of the world. It is so terrifying. Fire is also very frightening. It comes so quickly and just suddenly everything's just gone.
Yeah.
And people's lives, how many 25 people so far have lost their lives?
They're still coming through. I mean, they don't even know.
And so there's a lot to this. But, we do have hope today. And that is some of it in the prophecies that I'd like to share with you. Because I went through and I looked up California and I looked up fire and everyone on our team as well. We went through and we looked and we remembered some of the things. And then, we discovered some new things. So we wanted to share a few things with you today that is going to give hope in what is seemingly a hopeless time. And so the first prophecy we have for you is from December 3rd of 2011, my father in his garden. And I think this will be very helpful right now to hear this. So why don't we play that and then we'll come back.
As the winds are blowing in Southern California, as I'm praying now, it is a sign because God did speak to me about the winds earlier and the fact that this would be a sign that Southern California will actually be blessed, will be restored, will come back, and God will shine again on this state. Though great evil has come from the state, he spoke to me about this and said, even though great evil has been propagated from the state, once again he will restore it. There will always be evil. There's evil in every state in America. There's evil in every nation in the earth. Evil will not be wiped out until Christ returns. However, the dominion of evil will not stand here. Already God has judged many of those that have stood up and been arrogant in this industry. So therefore, what I've received today now is the winds are blowing very strongly as a blessing, as a sign that certainly he is. He is destroying certain levels of evil, certain levels of dominion and principalities in this region. Yesterday was a day where I spent a lot of time in spiritual warfare, hours in fact. Today I'm sensing an excitement in the spirit. I'm sensing anticipation. I'm sensing that the winds will not only blow in Southern California, but in America. The winds of change are coming. That's what I'm hearing as I'm praying right now. The winds of change are coming. These are not just coincidences. All this, the weather patterns, has to do with what God is saying and actually doing right now. I'm continuing my prayer. Southern California, California will be restored. God will not wipe it out and send it into the sea. That is his word, and that's what he's saying right now. I will continue to pray for America and see what he has to say about this nation, because there has to be a change of God. The winds of change are coming, and let's see what takes place. Very exciting.
That is very hopeful. Also, the winds of change is key, because we sit at the beginning of 2025. Donald Trump has been elected, as Dad prophesied, and we all have been anticipating, next week is the inauguration, and we have been anticipating this ever since Election Day. And, a lot of strange things have happened. And we remember the season's prophecy from last year, as God had revealed to my dad the things that would happen in each season of the year, and the end of the year with Christmas and Hypnotic November and the hypnosis and the strange events, the drones, all of it is becoming a picture. So little pieces of things coming together, which is how Dad used to describe the prophecies, that it would be like the weaving of a tapestry. So this picture is becoming clearer. And, it's because of the high winds that these extraordinarily high winds, and that's what has caused the fires to spread. So if something starts and it's spreading, and that wind just blows, those Santa Ana winds that come through there. I mean, I remember when we lived there, it was unreal. I've never experienced wind like that. And so, a lot has been exposed through this in the leadership, which has been quite embarrassing for some of those leaders there in California. But the good thing is that it's been a very big wake-up call. And, there will be something good to come out of it, as grim and awful as it seems in the moment. This is when you prophesy, and this is when you remind people. How many times I would see my dad in the most awful situations, and he would be able to go in and prophesy life into that situation. And so even though he's not with us anymore, that is still true, because those promises and those words came from God. And though my dad is not here, God knew we would be in this moment, and has given us some promise that, and surely it is the winds of change coming.
Yes, it is. And we also, that's where we hold on to that hope. I know that we've got another prophecy that we wanted to play, Donné, and then we can talk to the people a little bit more. But it's just, remember, in times of difficulty and times of devastation, God always sent his word through his prophets to bring the people hope, always. And that's what the voice of Kim has shown us even more clearly. And obviously, next week, we're going to be talking about the inauguration. Donné and I are actually going to be going live on Tuesday to talk about this in the morning. And just to watch the miracles that we knew God was going to do. And sometimes we doubted that God was going to do. We didn't know that it would happen, and we're going to watch it occur next week. So we don't want to miss out on that. But just an encouragement for everybody. And I say this as somebody who's sitting in the middle of the state that is still on fire. The words that God gave to Kim have always given me hope. And that's what I'm holding on to. And that's what the words are there for you to have hope as well. So as we go into this next prophecy clip, just remember the purpose of all of this is to show us God's track record, that what he says he will do, he will do. Kim's voice was given to us as a sign. And we're watching things be fulfilled that seem completely impossible. And what we take from all of this is hope. So, Donné, I don't know if you want us to go straight into that clip, but I figured, hey, we might as well see the next prophecy now.
Yes, no, it's actually perfect, because now I did, the prophecy we're going to watch next is from March 2nd of 2013. So if you were with me on Sunday at Codebreakers Live, we watched some of it, and then I put the entire broadcast up on Prophetic Rewind on Monday. So any of you who might want to watch the entire thing, it is up on Prophetic Rewind. But today I just wanted to look again at just this one section, which is just the most important, I think. And, Dad he wasn't just prophesying. The prophecy was in the song too, because in the song that he was singing God's word is like a fire. And he kept making reference to the fire, and then began to give what God had promised about and for California, and how people will say, well, it's the hellhole of America. How could God do anything but that God was going to confound the wise? And it would not be as a result of economists, but as a result of a movement that would begin to take place in Southern California. And so we are very excited today to be able to bring you some hope, again, in what seems like a hopeless situation. So let's have a look at that clip from March 2nd of 2013.
Spirit of God says, prepare yourself, land and earth, for that which I did in the 60s and the 70s. I have revealed that this is that time again, but it shall not be like them, where it is restricted to just a few continents. The This movement, says the Lord, will begin again in California. And there shall be an economic boost in California. And they shall say, but why California? Is it not the hellhole of America? God said, I don't care what it is. I will take the economy of California and show America that I will take the foolish things of this world to confound the wise. That I will take the low things of this world to make my light shine. And America shall look at California and say, it's impossible. Look at the economy rising up. And I shall rejoice, for it shall not be as a result of the economist, but it shall be as a result of the movement that is beginning to take place. Liken unto the Jesus movement, it shall begin with the Hispanic people. For the Hispanics shall say, we must go into the streets, to the highways, to the byways, to the back street alleys, into the prisons, and suddenly all throughout West LA, it shall spread and spread and spread, from house to house, from prison to prison. I shall reveal myself, and the movement shall explode, not only here, but in America. And there shall be young people, and they shall invent, and they shall compose, and they shall say, what must we do next? And they shall take over the internet. They will take over the internet, and then it shall go viral, and they shall say, Jesus is cool. And they shall speak that name, and it shall go from house to house, and my fire shall consume the criminal activities in California. And then it shall spread to New York. Then it shall spread to the South. And I will unbuckle the Bible belt. I will unbuckle the belt that is in the Bible belt. And they shall explode with joy. For this nation is ready for the greatest breakthrough ever. And it shall be called a revolution like never before. Come on, give the Lord a shout.
I just love that bass line so much. Every time I see Charlie, I always say, Charlie, that's my favorite bass line. What an incredible prophecy that is as we look at this going on.
Yeah. It's so full of hope. And that's, something that just comes to mind for me is I know that there's going to be people out there who are feeling complaining about the fact that Kim prophesied something good about California. But I would like to take this moment to remind all of us that if God sent Jonah to Nineveh at the time was the most absurdly anti-God city. They were barbarians. They were known for their cruelty. And Jonah himself got mad at God. And the reason he gave was, I know you. You're merciful. I don't want you to have mercy on these people. And we know how that ended up for him. But I would just encourage everybody to have an open heart and an open mind and to really just take hold of the promises that were given in these series of prophetic words. And, what Kim said, it always sounded counter to what we were seeing. Always. He some of the things this man would say, you would think this is insanity. And at the time, it often would seem like it was insane. But then we would see all these years later, like we've seen so much of, taking place in 2024. Oh my gosh, God was showing him something. And I, it just, again, it fills me with hope. And we're about to, we've watched some of these prophecies of Kim. We've got a clip of Newsom that we really want to show you. And the thing that I just want to say before we go into this, and as you watch it, you will actually see that even in the midst of the chaos, there's some kind of forced change coming in California. And at the end of the day, there are a lot of Christians out here, and there are a lot of people that want to do the right thing. And so, that's not only Christians. You can get some really horrible Christians, but there's some people out here that I know God wants to reach. And change is necessary for that to happen. But I just want to encourage you, what you saw Kim prophesy, what we've been seeing Kim prophesy, I want to encourage you today, as you sow, you're sowing into soil that is not only fertile, not only productive, but is eternal. And the words that Kim gave, the promises that God made through him, we've seen so many of them fulfilled. We're about to see one of the biggest ones ever happen literally next week. But I'm encouraging you, there's a red link below your player. I'm encouraging you, sow into the soil because it is good. Sow into the promises of God and take hold of them for your life. This isn't just about the state or about the nation or about the world. This is about you. This is about your family. This is about your needs. This is about what God is aware of that is knocking at your door that you're stressed about. And so I'm encouraging you today, whatever it is that you're able to sow, it doesn't matter the amount. Remember, it's a posture of the heart. As you do it cheerfully, as you do it in faith, know that the seed that you're sowing is good, because it's coming through an altar of thanksgiving, and it's coming upon an altar, and the sacrifice that you're making is coming through to God in faith, and faith is what pleases Him. But also know that the soil in which your seed goes is not only fertile and productive, it's eternal, and it's something that can never die. And I think that's pretty amazing. So, Donné, back to you.
Absolutely true. It's just so true, Christy. And, something else that Dad, which wasn't in the clip, that's why I'm encouraging people to go back and watch Prophetic Rewind, because the whole broadcast is there. But something that he prophesied about was connected with what we looked at last week with the big E and energy. And, out of this prophecy where he's singing about the fire and the things that God is going to do in California, he also reminded everybody of the big E and the energy and that technology. And, again, we looked at this last week, but here's another instance in which God was showing that to my dad and the California connection with that. And so we're watching these prophecies very closely as these events begin to unfold, and more of it makes sense. And so it really helps us and makes such a difference for us here that you have continued to support us, and we thank you so much for doing that. And we do encourage you also to join our Prophecy Vault, our partner program, which has been growing, and we're already digitizing more and able to, it's giving us the freedom to be able to do more with the discovery of these and sharing of these prophecies. But we have another news clip to share with you of Newsom, who, not one of my favorite people, that's for sure.
No.
So let's have a look at the news clip that we had prepared about Newsom, or from Newsom.
I'm worried about issues of rebuilding as it relates to scarcity, as it relates to property taxes, meaning scarcity of resources, materials, personnel. I'm worried about time to getting these projects done. And so we want to fast track by eliminating any CEQA requirements. I've got Coastal Act changes that we're making. I want to make sure when someone rebuilds that they have their old property tax assessments and that they're not increased. So all of that's been done in the executive order we just announced.
CEQA, Governor, and the Coastal Act are both environmental regulations. And if you're going to be suspending those temporarily, are you concerned about problems that may result from the suspension of those environmental regulations and a potential abuse by developers?
Yeah, we're not going to, and within this executive order, we frame those abuses. We basically bookmark that in the context of maintaining the existing footprints. The Coastal Act, they allow just a 10% variant, so we're going to be very mindful of that. California leads the nation in environmental stewardship. I'm not going to give that up, but one thing I won't give into is delay.
Both of our
California leads the nation.
Listen, I remember Newsom with Donald Trump in 2018 when my mother's house almost burned down. There were those fires. And Trump was then saying to them, you need to clean up your forests. You need to do this, that, this, and the next thing, which they did not do. Because they did not do those things, when you have instances like this, now look, we don't know everything. I'm hearing about arsonists, but I know those Santa Ana winds are crazy. And when those winds come through. So, I'm not really a fan of Newsom. He's a politician, almost a caricature of a politician. So obviously he's going to say whatever he has to say. But really, it's been quite embarrassing for the leadership there.
He's going to say whatever he wants to say, and smiling while the city's been burning down. And the truth is, so much of this could have been prevented. I mean, the fire hydrants were empty.
Right.
No
the
pressure
to the water.
Empty.
People selling water.
They also cut $17.6 million to the fire department budget to push into homelessness. And Newsom's already spent $20 billion over the last 5 years trying to solve a problem that is not going away. Right. Donné, in the last week since these fires have started, they've arrested about 30 people, almost all of them homeless, for trying to start new fires. about 6 of those have occurred on my street, where I've seen the notifications pop up on Citizen with homeless trying to start fires here because there's a mental health crisis. And, there's people that are completely crazy. I've seen so many videos of citizens tackling other people and stopping them from doing what they're doing. But I mean, even when I was coming back from Long Beach, we went to Long Beach to get away from the fires. And as I was leaving Long Beach, the air was filled with this black acrid smoke, and another transient person had set a fire to like a container yard. That's not the wind blowing too hard at that current moment. That's an intentional fire being set, which is, let me tell you something, when you're living in the middle of it, it's terrifying.
Yes.
When you don't know, you're getting notifications that 200 feet down the street from you, there's a trash fire because some transients started it again. And this has happened, I don't know how many times over the last week. It's horrifying.
It is horrifying. And, when I started to see mugshots of arsonists, I thought to myself, this is so horrifying. Everybody around you is losing everything. People are dying. People are burning. I mean, it just the most heartbreaking, most terrible things. What kind of person would say, oh, I'm going to start another one? My husband said it's the kind of person that's probably getting paid. That might be who knows. We don't know.
But I do think that's something that we need to note with this clip of Newsom, even though he's such a special man. Not, a lot of these regulations aren't helping. They're not helping to prevent fires. They're definitely not going to help the rebuilding. So it could be the beginning of something new for California. Mm-hmm. That's the thing to consider, considering what your dad prophesied, considering where we're sitting at now. But they are. Even Newsom himself is coming to the realization that all these myriads of regulations aren't helping. So could this be the beginning of a turnaround and a situation that's really terrible being turned around in the long run, that God's able to use it for the good? That's what I would pray, and that it would actually be, like your dad prophesied, the start of something new, that this could be it. And remember, if God could use a donkey, he can use a person. He can use anybody. So wouldn't it actually be even more incredible if we did see a complete turnaround from somebody like Gavin Newsom? I personally would like to see an out of office and somebody else in there. But I'm just saying, who knows what God could do?
Who knows what God could do? But we know a few things because we do have some of these prophecies from my dad, which, again, in the moment, it doesn't seem possible. But we also know that God can do the impossible. And so before we go today, I have one more thing we want to... Well, actually, we're going to go. We're going to go and say goodbye to you and then play this. So stick around. And watch this, because it's, we showed you what he saw in regards to, obviously with the song Fire, again and again, it's this theme of fire and what God's going to do out of that for California. But he also saw this revolution. He called it the Jesus revolution. He saw the young people taking over the internet. We're already seeing that. I mean, if you see with the way it is with podcasters and how, what an influence that had during the election with Donald Trump. You had his son, Barron, encouraging him to go on these long-form podcasts and talk. And, if you go around YouTube or Rumble and you're looking at social media, there's so many young people that have been given a platform and a voice. And my dad saw this happening and how God would use that and how God showed us that they would say, Jesus is cool. And, that's really, that hasn't been happening for a long time, but it is starting to happen. More and more people are talking about him. More and more people are discovering. Even this past Sunday, we looked at the Billy Carson-Wes Huff debate that happened where Billy Carson was saying how Jesus was never crucified. It was all a lie. And God sent little Wes Huff in there, a historian and linguist. And it was very easy for him to prove that those were incorrect claims. And so that's just one instance in the past week where we've seen something miraculous happening on the internet with the young people. And so he saw this Jesus revolution, and there was a connection with California, and what God would do there, and what God would do with Hollywood and our entertainment and how we see things. And so it's very, very hopeful in so many areas. And so if you're watching this right now and you're feeling maybe you've lost everything, maybe you have lost everything you have in these fires, or maybe you're afraid, just know that this is not the end. As apocalyptic as it looks, it's not the end. And there is a lot of hope still. And sometimes these kinds of things, when they happen, God will turn it around for good. And we really, truly believe that that is what's going to happen, not only in California, but in America. And so we're going to say goodbye to you today. Do not miss next week. And also be looking for us this coming Tuesday, because we're going to be going live and discussing the inauguration after the fact. So Monday, everybody's going to be watching the inauguration, and then Tuesday, we're going to go live and in the morning, and so don't miss it. You want to join us if you could be there in the morning. If not, you can watch it afterwards, but it will be up, and we're going to have a look at what happened at the inauguration, and it's just going to be great. So make sure you don't miss that. We do love you so much, and thank you for your support. We continue to pray for you, especially those of you suffering in California. You are not forgotten. We are with you in this, and we want you to have some hope. And so we're leaving you today with this incredible prophecy that my dad gave concerning Southern California. So we will see you next week.
This region has been thirsty and crying out for a revelation of God. For it was in the northern parts of California that I brought forth a movement, the Jesus movement. And God says, now, I choose you, South. I wish to reveal myself in a way that I have never done before, says the Lord. New force, a new, innovative, creative church that will rush through the cities. They will take the marketplace by storm. Watch and see. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord.
Something happened in this garden that triggered a word. What happened in the 60s and the 70s in California with this Jesus movement, I've already prophesied this, but he said this is the time for that major revolution. Now is the time.
They shall say, do not touch this plant. It is poisonous. It contains a deadly poison. And God said, they shall say, you cannot eat that. You cannot consume it. But that which once brought death by consumption will actually bring life and energy, says the Spirit of God. For a plant, for it shall come from a soil. He said a soil. Okay, from a ground somewhere, right? I love this. That a thing that will kill the human being in a tree. God said, so it shall bring a cure to many cancers, says the Spirit of God.
We are going to be talking about the topic, should I accept my weaknesses? And I said weaknesses plural for a reason, because I, for one, have many.
We love Christianity because it's such a transparent relationship with God. And like you said, we all have so many weaknesses.
Fear has cousins, so all fear is cast out, right? And then so I wrote, the path you are walking on, I have already walked for you. And if you doubt that you are on my path, well, seek me and pray.
Watch now at real-faith.tv.
This past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. It's because of you that we're making it through. My employees and I want to thank you for your continued support by extending our wholesale prices on classic MyPillows. Get standard classic MyPillows only $14.98. I can't believe I'm even saying that. Only $14.98. But it gets even better. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.98. King size only $1 more. Get my body pillows $29.98 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including my standard size MyPillow, originally $49.98, now only $14.98. Queens $18.98, Kings only $1 more. Not only that, order $75 or more, ship absolutely free.
From all of us here at MyPillow,
thanks America! We here at the House of Destiny are partnering with you to let our viewers, of course, know about your company. It's Beverly Hills Precious Metal.
Andrew, explain how that works.
So I'll walk you through it right now. So if you go to bh-pm.com, right there on the homepage, you'll see a form that you could fill out. And that form is very important in letting us know how we can help you. So you just put in your first name, last name, email address, phone number. There's a section that says, how did you hear about us? And in there, put Kim Clement. And then there's a portion where you could write a couple of notes down on the bottom. Usually within about 24 to 48 hours, we'll contact you by phone call, and then we'll go over everything with you. This isn't a high pressure deal. We always recommend that if you feel uncomfortable, take a step back, pray about it. You will gain the answers that you need by doing that, and come back to us when you're comfortable.